Hello and welcome back to the Stop and Go F1, or shall I say, Stop and Go F2, because it's time to talk about the first F2 race weekend of the year. Although only half the size, because the feature race was cancelled this morning due to lots and lots and lots of rain. So we only have the sprint race to talk about, but we'll get into all of that and more in just 1 second. Firstly, remember to like and subscribe, and of course, huge shout out to the members: Dakota, The Joyous James, Robin Myers, Cinnamon Strudel, Michael Johnson, and F. My goodness, let's get into this right now. And let's firstly, before we talk about the sprint, talk about the feature, which is a backwards way to do it, but it's the way we're going to do it. Just because, of course, like I said, the feature race didn't happen. But what that generally means, it's a weird one because, of course, looking at it, it was not safe to race, and they shouldn't have raced, and they didn't. So they did the right thing there. But from a championship point of view, what we have now is, because of the way the sprints and the features work, the sprint race grid was made up of the top 10 reversed, whereas the feature race would be the quickest 10. So what we've really done this weekend is highly rewarded, the person who finished 10th. Which is a bit mad. The guy who got pole, which was Victor Martins, he still gets his point for pole position. They made that very clear afterwards. So he still gets 1 point. But he was the fastest man on track on Friday, and his reward is 1 point all weekend. He didn't score any points in the sprint, doesn't get an opportunity to score any points in the feature, whereas the guy who won the sprint, who is now the championship leader of Formula 2, is the championship leader of Formula 2 because he was the 9th fastest man on Saturday, which is it's a bit mad, and it's a bit strange, but this is the world that we are in. It'd be interesting to see if they do anything with this. I know last year in F1 Academy, I think their race in Qatar was cancelled. I can't quite remember why. And they had an additional race added to their schedule in Abu Dhabi. So I think our next F2 weekend is Bahrain. It would be quite nice if we got an additional race in Bahrain for Formula 2, maybe made up of the grid that we got that didn't happen here, just to kind of balance it out a little bit more. But yeah, it's a weird one from a championship perspective, but of course, they shouldn't have raced in the conditions that it was. And, you don't want to be giving out points for a race that didn't happen. And they have got that whole rule now that you need 2 laps without a safety car to have the points and whatever it might be. So it's an interesting one. I'd be interested to know where you lie on this as for what should happen in terms of rewarding the people who were actually fast on Friday in comparison to the reverse grid. But let's get on with the reverse grid, because we'll talk about the sprint now. And the sprint race, I think this is quite fun. The first race of Formula 2 starts with the Formula 3 champion on pole position, Leo Fornaroli, Joshua Durksen alongside him, Luke Browning in third, Dino Boganovic in fourth. And now, you see, it's been a controversial weekend anyway for Formula 2, because there's penalties all over the place. So Gabriele Mini was actually the fastest man in qualifying, but he got a 3-place penalty for impeding, so he went further down from there. And then, even before the weekend started, we had a 10-place penalty for Crawford, Miney, Cordeal, Dunn, Megatuniv, and Esterson, all because of, during testing, the team was illegally measuring aero load. And I've seen lots of people try and explain this. I still don't fully understand it, but all of them got 10-place penalties. I don't know if these penalties will now go on to the next race, because if they don't, they've got away with that, really. I wonder if the mini one, I wouldn't be too fussed if that one was, if they just pushed that one aside. But as for the others, I think they should really be held across, because that was a very serious penalty that they handed out there. I'm just going to check on social media, see if anything has been said. Doesn't look like it. The 10-place grid penalties for the drivers below will not be carried over to the next round. Though the feature race was cancelled due to the wet conditions, F2 confirmed to feeder series that the penalties were to be served this round specifically. So, the teams have got away with that one. Congratulations, guys. I mean, those 10-place penalties did affect the sprint race as well, but in terms of the feature race, they've lost absolutely nothing there. So, let's go to some actual racing here, because we've been talking for nearly 5 minutes and haven't spoken about a race. Joshua Durksen takes the lead immediately from Leo Fornaroli into turn 1. On lap 2, Victor Martins is out, lost the rear of the car, span right into the wall. This brings out the virtual safety car for a brief moment there. Leo Fornaroli, who of course was on pole position, is now falling further and further back and under a lot of pressure from Luke Browning. Jack Crawford has to retire. The car had an issue there. Dino Boganovic has a fantastic move on the outside of turn 11 on Roman Stanek. That's for P5 on lap 6. And now we get the safety car out again now, because Esterson, he was out of the car. Safety car lasts until lap 11. And a fantastic restart from Joshua Durksen, over a second ahead already on lap 12. Further back, Dino Boganovic, he was in P5, but has quite the big spin here, falls all the way down to P17. And further up, we have a fantastic freeway battle between Gabriele Mini, Pepe Marti, and Arvid Lindblad. 3 of my absolute favourites in Formula 3. They were all battling for P3. That was fantastic. Mega Tunif has a big spin here. He very similar to the one that Boganovic had earlier on, but unfortunately he is unable to save it and ends up beached. He is out. This brings out the safety car yet again. And again, Joshua Durksen, fantastic restart from him. Goes super early, catches Fornaroli napping, really, and is able to get the lead from there. Extends the lead over and over again from Leo Fornaroli. Further back, Dunn passes Lindblad for P9 on lap 23, and then we crossed the line. It was a relatively uneventful sprint race in terms of on-track action. There was, of course, a few DNFs there, but as we cross the line, it is Joshua Durksen who takes the win. Leo Fornaroli in P2, Luke Browning is third, Vashaw in fourth, Stanek fifth, Montoya, a very good 6th place for him there, Mini in 7th, Marty 8th, Dunn 9th, Arvid Lindblad in 10th. So Dunn and Lindblad just missing out on points because of the sprint race, of course. But there you go. Joshua Durksen now championship leader. As for star of Formula 2, very difficult to point to anyone as, like, because the star of Formula 2 isn't necessarily who was the best, but the most entertaining. Who was massively entertaining this weekend? They all did pretty well. I don't know. I might just not give one. We didn't get a full race weekend. You don't get it. I think that's the first time it's ever happened. For the first time ever, I am not giving Star of Formula 2 this weekend. For me this weekend, the feeder series has not delivered in the way I would have hoped. Maybe it was because I was very tired and it was in the middle of the night and it wasn't as, I wasn't as attentive as usual. But, the Formula 2 and the Formula 3 last year and the year before was just like, it grabbed me, it gripped me. And this weekend it hasn't done as much. I feel like it's the cork in the bottle, though. We have an incredibly talented Formula 2 grid. Looking through the names, there's really no big duds here in Formula 2. Normally you have a few who are just like, why are you here? I won't name any names. I was going to say a couple of names then, but I'll be kind. But like, if you look at the Formula 2 grid this year, every single name on there is like, oh yeah, I understand why you're here. You're very good. You're very good. And I think we're in a good place in Formula 2. It just, maybe because we missed out on that feature race, we haven't had the full burst of Formula 2 goodness as of yet. But I'm sure we will do when we get to Bahrain, because this will be a very interesting championship. And what this means for the championship as well, without that feature race, is there's still less points going across at the top. Anyone could be leading next time out. So we'll wait and see. Bit disappointing this weekend, but that's how it is. Formula 2 done, in the books. We'll see you next time. Tomorrow we'll have the driver ratings for Formula 1. We've already got the review of Formula 3 is out there, as is the review of Formula 1. We're a bit all over the place this weekend, but that's the way it happens when we go to Australia. Back next week as well. Not just F1, but all things Formula 1 Academy, because that returns next weekend. Should be very exciting. Until then, I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Goodbye.